when I was growing up, they used to call it, so we lived right in front of Pleasant Hill. And my mom's house is still there and that kind of things. I grew up right there. And so we play in the yard, and they'd call the street Pleasant Hill. They'd call it the Café Hill.
Café.
And I didn't know what it meant. We're playing around, that kind of thing. Now, you can't see that today because, we've got a realignment going on, but that hill was called the Café Hill. I never knew it because Doc's Cafe was long gone by the time I came on, came along. But they called it the Café Hill, and I found out a little later on. Oh, it's called the Café Hill because the house that sat right down the street from Mom's house and right across the street from my aunt's house was the cafe.
Yeah.
And everybody gathered there. I mean, everybody gathered on. It kept its name, the Café Hill. And so to see that Roswell has taken the time to invest in preserving this part of and making it a part of, I didn't say making it, but making more aware that it is a part of the greater history of Roswell.
Yeah. Welcome back to Brew Talks. I'm Steve Stroud. I'm president and CEO of Roswell Inc. We're your economic development organization here in the city of Roswell, working with the city of Roswell.
I'm Andy Williams, president and CEO of Visit Roswell, the city's official destination marketing organization charged with the promotion of tourism. And, we've got what's become a resident guest back with us today, Mayor Kurt Wilson. So it's a pleasure to have you on again, and a very special guest, Pastor Sabin Strickland from Pleasant Hill Church. And we're going to talk.
He's a friend.
Well, he is. He is a good
long-time friend.
Good friend of the city, good friend of both of our organizations. Yep. And we're going to talk about a subject today that's really important for a number of different reasons. And I'm not going to steal anybody's thunder, but I'll tell you, you're going to hear a lot about the historical relevance to the city. You're going to hear the word deconstruction and really kind of what that's going to lead to and what this project's going to lead to with regard to that. But Pastor, it's a pleasure to have you on. Mayor, it's a pleasure to have you on as well. And we're going to jump right into it.
Absolutely. So this project, Doc's Cafe, what a project, man.
Yeah.
Mayor, you found a home for it and worked with the community. Great article in AJC, most recent, front page about what was happening and the deconstruction and then bringing this back to life for the community. And, from an economic development point of view, we're not even getting tourism yet, but the fact that was a business in this community and it's bringing it back to life. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, Doc's Cafe, it's near and dear to the heart because it's a part of our community. It's not just a part of the Black community, but it's a part of our city.
Sure.
And has held great significance. So for it to come back up as a conversation has been a great thing. Now, when we first started talking about Doc's Cafe, man, I was standing in the yard of Barrington Hall with previous mayor and that kind of thing. And we started talking about and looking at the kind of the historical assets that Roswell has, and the conversation kind of came up about, well, what historical asset do we have in specifically the Black community, that kind of thing. And man, it hit me. Well, Doc's Cafe. I know our church, Pleasant Hill, is, it's 180 years old, just kind of like the city, right?
Right.
And so, we know that Black presence has been around since the city has been around,
sure,
right?
Sure.
And Doc's Cafe was a part of that presence, though it came in, many years later, like in the mid 50s. And stayed around to the late 60s, that kind of thing. But it was a place in the community where folks could gather and connect. And it was a safe place and not just socializing, but a place where identity was reaffirmed and all of that good stuff. And so to have it kind of come back up as a conversation, to be a part of Roswell's historical assets was major to me. It's major to our community, that kind of thing. And so just glad to be a part of kind of the talks and how, we can get it reestablished and what it looks like, kind of moving forward.
Yeah.
So,
Mayor, you led the charge, picked up the pieces, and have really moved this forward in the last 3.5 years. Amazing to get all the parts and pieces together. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, Roswell's an amazing city. Has an amazing past, has an amazing history, kind of like America.
Yeah.
Complicated. Not always so great. There are parts of it not so great.
Right.
Parts of it are great. I'm a big believer that know thyself, which means know who you are so you can continue to move forward. If you don't know thyself, it's very hard. Part of knowing thyself is knowing your history and knowing Roswell's history. And there's a lot of Roswell's history we haven't told yet.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot of Roswell's history we haven't exposed. I'm a big believer in continuing to embrace your historical past so you can move forward and understand who you want to become from who you've been. It's hugely important.
Yep.
Large parts of our history we still haven't activated. Dr. Strickland just mentioned it. For example, Pleasant Hill and Mount Zion are two of the oldest churches in the state of Georgia. They're right here in Roswell. Happen to be black churches, right? Big part of our history. We haven't told that story enough. Doc's Café, it was easy. Haven't told the story enough. That's why you see us activating all of our historical assets. Mimosa, Bullock, Barrington, Smith, Holly, Doc's. Doc's was just a simple, integral part of bringing it into the Roswell historical piece that we're going to talk about. And we're going to tell the people most people don't know Roswell's history.
Right.
Most people don't know that there was a time, interestingly enough, in Roswell where the black community came in and financially saved the white community. There's so many interesting stories about Roswell that don't fit the cookie-cutter version of history. Roswell has an interesting past. It was a different city before the Depression. It was a different city after the Depression.
True.
It became a different city in the 60s. It became a different city again in the 90s. So we need to embrace and talk about who we were in the past. It's very important, I think, for us as a people.
Sure.
And it helps us to learn and get better. Doc's Café was an integral part of the black community, not just for Roswell, but for surrounding communities. Right. Surrounding communities came to Roswell. Surrounding black folks would come to Roswell to come to Doc's Café because it was a safe haven for community, family to get together. It was a vibrant business because it was a get-together place. The story needs to be told. And so this was easy. And we're going to do more pieces. This is not it. I mean, I'm glad Dr. Strickland just mentioned it. Like, Pleasant Hill Church is a big deal in the historical part of Roswell's history. So, yeah, this is easy stuff. I mean, if it's controversial to somebody, I don't care. I mean, this is easy stuff.
Well, it's funny you mentioned controversial too, because I'll say this, from a tourism standpoint, when you talk about cultural heritage-based tourism, people crave authenticity. No matter what the history is, I mean, they want to be giving it to them straight. I mean, essentially. And so the city has made the decision to protect and preserve what's happening at Doc's Café, and that leads to another, sort of thing I want to get on too. It's not as simple as just picking up this thing and moving it, right? And that's where we get into deconstruction, and a lot comes out of the deconstructive element. And I want to make sure when we tell the story about what deconstruction means, it's not just tearing the thing apart. It's being done for a very pointed reason. Can you both elaborate on that process?
Well, let me acquiesce to you first there, Mayor, and then I'll pick that up because I think the deconstruction is important in the sense that, if you can't hold it, I don't want it to fall apart and not look like it needs to look, and what this deconstruction entails. So I'll piggyback right on.
Well, piece by piece.
Yeah.
Literally, Doc's Café is being taken apart piece by piece, literally marked like it's a incredibly it's a super antique.
Yeah.
Right.
Like this is something the Smithsonian
Cataloging,
Institution would do,
Yeah.
right? In D.C. You're coming in, marking each piece of the building, marking it very specifically, taking it apart piece by piece, putting it into the crates so it can be rebuilt exactly. Actually, it's going to look better when we get back. I mean, it's going to look dramatically better when we get back together. I can't wait for folks to see it. And I'll tell you an interesting thing. So Dr. Strickland and I have been talking about this for a while. And I threw out the idea, and this is where I think it's important to listen. Because I really wanted to put Doc's Café where the Founders Park is. I wanted to put it there in Roswell Town Square because I wanted people to see it. It's part of my thoughts in the history. And the Groveway community and Dr. Strickland met with our team and said, hey, we really want it to go back to its original location on Oxbow. And we said, okay, if that's what you want, then that's where Doc's Café is going back. So she'll be rebuilt right back where she was in her original place of location.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So I wanted the mayor to kind of start there first. Why? Because I wanted to understand, when we think about deconstruction, I wanted it to be heard and be said that, all right, piece by piece, all right, we're preserving, we put it in crates. And when we put that thing back up, and it's going to look like it did to even greater degree. It's going back in its original footprint. Yes, we did talk about just where Doc's Cafe would fit in best, right, when it comes to the historical assets of Roswell itself. And I know, and I'm glad to see that, was glad to understand and know that it's part of the bigger history or the greater history of Roswell in the sense of, founders, founders project, right? I think it's, $5 million going into this and really making sure that all of the historical assets of Roswell are being looked at and accessible. That was major to me, accessible. Sure. So when we talked about it going up on the square and, what that would look like, I mean, really, they didn't just give me that stuff willy-nilly. We went through and went up and walked where it might go and that kind of thing. But, of course, in our heart of hearts, and if we want to make the greatest impact, and we talk about the authenticity of, these cultural assets and the authenticity of, from that historical perspective, it being in its spot speaks best. Yeah. Because, there used to be apartments down there, the apartments that many of, our Black residents in Roswell used to live there. Right. So let me kind of give you this footprint. So you think about Black presence in Roswell. I always say you can kind of note where Black communities are by the place where the church is. Really, you can. And so the same is true in Roswell, so you got Pleasant Hill Missionary Baptist Church there on Pleasant Hill Street, and, communities, Black communities kind of built around that. And so Oxbow was filled with Black presence. And all the way down to the end of Oxbow, the Grimes Bridge, I have family down there, that kind of thing. As a matter of fact, my uncle owned the property where the now Groveway Community Park is, kind of thing. And so we were right around in there, and then, it rolled around to, Bush Street. All right? So up Pleasant Hill Street to Bush Street, and then down the hill on Groveway. Okay. Wow. And it stopped right there. So Groveway itself, where our housing authority is now, was not historically Black. Okay. But of course, we have more Black presence there now. But so it would move from, the street, the hill of Groveway, and then it would make its way to Zion. Okay. So there's kind of a gap with Myrtle Street and that kind of, but then Zion it'd pick back up at Zion. Then if you remember the Millbrook property, those apartments down there, that was predominantly Black. And then on this side, we had the alley, which is what we called it. And that's just Canton Street, the alley right off Canton Street. And that kind of thing. And so when you think about kind of the presence of the Black community in Roswell, that was kind of the footprint, right? And so when we started talking about placement, for Doc's Cafe, I said, man, that original place is where it's gonna be. I mean, we talked about a number of places, even in the Groveway Community Park at one. I said, no, man, I don't want to. I definitely wasn't for sticking everything over there because it would miss its historical authenticity, as you put it. I like that. To move it any other place because, hey, things have now become gentrified around there, and you wouldn't know down Oxbow that, man, this was a vibrant Black community. Right. You wouldn't know it just by, if you came today and drove, then you wouldn't know it. No. And so kind of a real quick, and I'll move on, but kind of a piece of history I got from Mom them. So when I was growing up, they used to call, so we lived right in front of Pleasant Hill. My mom's house is still there and that kind of things. I grew up right there. And so We play in the yard, and they'd call the street Pleasant Hill. They'd call it the Café Hill.
Café.
And I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
We're playing around, that kind of thing. Now, you can't see that today because, we've got a realignment going on. But that hill was called the Café Hill. And I never knew it because Doc's Cafe was long gone by the time I came on, came along. But they called it the Café Hill. And I found out a little later on, it's called the Café Hill because the house that sat right down the street from Mom's house and right across the street from my aunt's house was the cafe.
Yeah.
And everybody gathered there. I mean, everybody gathered on, it kept its name, the Café Hill. And so to see that Roswell has taken the time to invest in preserving this part of and making it a part of, I didn't say making it, but making more aware that it is a part of the greater history of Roswell. I think it speaks volumes. I mean, you're not just, I think you're restoring legacy and bringing this idea, as Mayor Wilson said to Roswell, that, hey, man, this history is not just on this table. This history is in this room. Not just in this room, but it's in the parking lot. Not just in the parking lot, but it's in the street.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
It's funny. Dr. Strickland came to me after we got elected, too, and he said, hey, man, you've got to get this Oxbow Road thing done.
It's got to get fixed.
He said this Oxbow Road extension, man, he's just killing. I said, can you imagine, if I don't, y'all probably, it's been so long. It's only been 3 years, 2.5 years, but it seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
But really, for years, you had this Oxbow Road extension project just tearing up the middle of this community, right in front, right below his church, right down all this historic area, just sitting there like one big giant clod of dirt. That nobody. I remember had some community members coming up to me like, "Are you ever going to do anything about this?" And it's funny. It's like there were a lot of reasons we did something about it, but one was just like, "Hey, man, you can't leave this in somebody's backyard like this long."
Right.
And so getting Oxbow Road solved was for me a paramount issue, for a lot of reasons. One was you can't do that to somebody. You can't leave a project of that size and enormity in that kind of shape in somebody's backyard, and that's really what it was.
It was like it was in a pause mode. Yeah.
Well, so we couldn't even have the conversation about Doc's Cafe.
No.
Right.
Because you had right.
Yeah. Well,
I had to finish that conversation around.
And I think what I hear that was loud and clear is the mayor and his team listened, right?
Certainly.
They listened to what the needs were. They listened to you and your church, your community, to make this dramatic change, right? In Oxbow, they listened and finished, got it over the line and put that to bed. It does seem, Mayor, like it's been years, right? But it's so easy of use of operation right now for the whole community and connecting the community, right? From Sloan Street over, how much that difference that does with Hill Street, or even Hill Street and what's coming on there, and Oak Street. But listening, and then Doc's being, it's kind of interesting. It was a gathering place. It was a restaurant. And here, we always hear about breaking bread, right? Yeah. And how important that is, and how we as a community have become one of the number one restaurant communities in the metro area.
Wow.
I mean, you think about it, it's about we all want to be together, right? And so putting it back where it was, that means a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and you hit on something too, Steve. You mentioned the Hill Street development that's coming online, and we got a number of different projects going on right now. And so, Mayor, let's talk timeline. Because this has actually gotten some nice coverage. We've seen the AJC article. I've read a few articles on it. They've kind of taken some deep dives into it. So people are going to be paying attention, and they're going to be excited for what's to come. So, Mayor, what's it look like timeline wise, and when can folks expect to be able to tune in a little bit more?
Yeah, I think the final we plan for the end of next year for Doc's to be reset back up in its original location.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
That's good.
And I'm assuming Roswell Connections is going to have good information that's going to be updated. That's where we've been sending folks.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah, Andy, thank you. Exactly. I forget, Roswell Connections is a great place to go.
Yeah.
Forget
Absolutely.
about what it is. It's a great source of illuminating information about what's going on.
Yeah.
Go to Roswell Connections. Go to Roswell Gov. Take you to Roswell Connections. Go to Roswell Connections. Great place. It's amazing how much information is there.
Well,
Absolutely.
and in this podcast, you obviously have seen some some renderings and some things that go on and some photos. But take us for 2 seconds, Doctor. Take us back. Who are the owners?
Who are the owners of Doc's Cafe,
Yeah,
right?
back
So there was Miss Hattie, who was just right across the street from the church. So you think about this, that close-knit community type thing, right? So when Doc's Cafe kind of came on the scene, my aunt, who was right at Stafford, okay, his name was Stafford, that kind of thing, but my aunt lived right across the street from Doc's Cafe.
Yeah.
And they were just kind of parted by the road.
Yep.
And so Mr. Stafford owned that first, and then Miss Hattie kind of got it from him. Once
Kept it going.
Became, so it moved from being a cafe, that kind of thing, to a gathering place, to a house. So she kind of brought it for her sons. But, it was still very much like it was when Doc's Cafe was Doc's Cafe.
Sure.
Wasn't much change, didn't much change. Of course, they brought out the, I guess the booths and that kind of thing. But I'm told, again, it's for my time, so I'm told that they would have, not just cooking in the house, but they have this pit where they would cook outside and that kind of thing, and barbecue, and they'd have live bands, that would we call them bands now, but they'd have folks that would come and sing and music and that kind of thing. Almost like your historic juke joint, so to speak.
Yeah, sure.
They would really get in there and do it, and I can picture it in my mind because the community was so vibrant, even
and close
afterwards.
knit, right?
Close knit. So I can tell. We could hear music being played at the apartments. When Doc's Cafe was no longer, but so I could tell that vibe was there because it kind of transcended,
Sure.
And so,
and ironically, it's back to walkability, right?
Yeah.
It was all together, all in the same community.
Yeah.
You went across the street. You went from your apartment over to
That's
I think that's why. I think that's why I wanted them, to be back in its footprint.
That's why I'm excited about the Hill Rose, the Hill Street development, because it's activating a part of downtown that's not been activated. It's going to create a lot of opportunity, by the way, economically for a lot of people. And it's going to create more access to this area where people have not, historically, most people don't go. And there's people, there's an amazing cemetery down there. I don't know how many folks have ever walked the cemetery.
Amazing.
That's a pretty cool cemetery, right? I mean, it just is. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
It is.
How many people have been to Pleasant Hill Church? Not enough.
I don't know.
It's a really cool church.
By the way,
if you don't have a church home, go check out Pleasant Hill.
That's right. Get ready.
But to your point, you have some amazing nonprofits down there. You've got some cool little businesses, but that area is going to get more and more activated, where more and more human beings are going to come. And that's the whole idea. And they're going to walk there, right? And they're going to ride their bikes there, and they're
walk
going
over
to this
to the mill.
It's just going to make the area more vibrant and alive again.
Yeah,
and that's really important.
Sure,
and it's part of your soul is to make it's like when you see things die, you see man, you got to bring it. This is about bringing it back.
Well, I know you ask about how we worked with the staff and that kind of thing, and the council and the mayor himself, and I did want to kind of piggyback on that just a little bit because I do, like I said, Jeff Leatherman, very good to work with, came down and we as we started re-engaging about Doc's Cafe and where it's going to go. Y'all heard me hint at this. I didn't hint at it. You heard me say this, that we took the time to actually go up because I wanted to make sure I would represent the community well, number one, and I know that Jeff was making sure we represent not just community, but mayor and council and the city well. And so taking the time to go up and say, well, here are these ideas. Here are these ideas. Here are these ideas. And I didn't just blow those ideas out of the water. Took it back to, our community, so to speak, and got their input. And that's what we came up with. Now, let's put it back in its original spot, in its original place, and that kind of thing. And folks were able to give that insight. We didn't just get together for a meeting and then this.
It was collaboration.
We were able to come together and talk a little bit about that, and then it, be dismissed. Yeah, we had a meeting. Here's what we're going to do. Because that's not what
everybody
we do.
took their time.
Took
and listened, and I think that's what
Yeah.
That's the theme here.
Yes.
Is
So if we can
truly
do
listening.
Yeah, if we continue to do that, I think we're going to be, it's going to be great. By the end of the year, I'd love to be a part. I know you said you can go on Roswell Connection, see that, but we'd love to be a part of posting those updates, even on
absolutely.
our
Yes.
social media platform for the church and on our website, that kind of thing, so folks can, because folks are, some people are not, may not be directly connected to Roswell Connections or understand how to access that.
Well,
But
we'll help spread the
We'll,
word.
get, we'll help spread the word
Okay,
for
so,
sure. Absolutely.
and, being able to come to the church, get those updates, and really keeping this aspect of Doc's Cafe on the front. I want folks to know. I've talked about it with them just last week. I want folks to know that, hey, no, this is not something on the back burner.
Right.
This is happening.
It's at the forefront. It's happening, and now
awesome.
to know that by the end of next year, that's the goal. It's going to be
go.
back up and moving and that kind of thing. And so,
Well, it'll be exciting. I want to break bread at Doc's Cafe next year. We've cut the ribbon, but we want to break some bread.
I got you.
because it's a treasure.
Yeah.
So thank you, Mayor, for your leadership. Thank you, Dr. Strickland.
Well, Dr. Strickland's a treasure, but Pleasant Hill's a treasure.
It's a treasure.
It's a real
Absolutely.
Like a lot of our history, people don't really know it.
Nope.
And a great example is Pleasant Hill and Dr. Strickland, his leadership in our community. It's a big deal. I really appreciate you, Sabin.
thank you.
Well, thank you
sir.
both for being on today.
Glad
and
to
as
do
we
it.
always say, it's a great day to do business. It's a great day to cherish our valuable assets.
That's right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And you're both.
Thank you.